Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I let you know what I thought about them. And we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week: Bowling with Corpses and Other Strange Tales from Lands Unknown. From Dark Horse Comics, written and illustrated by Mike Mignola. That's right, the great Mike Mignola is back with a brand new hardcover graphic novel anthology of folklore, horror, great art, and really cool macabre type stories. This book was everything that I wanted it to be and more. If you are not familiar with Mike Mignola, he is one of my absolute favorite artists of all time. I'm like Jack Kirby, Mike Mignola, right? It's like right there, super creepy, very atmospheric, excellent panel design and page composition. Mike Mignola is like one of the absolute goats of the industry. And he's been kind of like semi-retired, but he's recently decided, you know what, I do like doing comics. Let me just do what I want to, right? So we know Mike Mignola as the creator of Hellboy. And even if you've never read Hellboy, which if you haven't, you totally should, this is a perfect way to get into the storytelling flow and the vibe of a creator like Mike Mignola. This book is amazing. It's only $25, but it's a collection of short stories based on different folklore. And that's kind of what Hellboy is, kind of what BPRD is. It's kind of what everything that Mike Mignola does is adaptations and amalgamations of different folklores from different cultures. So you got like Italian folklore, you got Japanese stuff, everything's kind of mixed all together here to create one cohesive and interesting new universe from Mike Mignola. That's right, this is not tied into the Hellboy universe, this is not tied into the Baltimore universe, this is its own thing, its own mythology, its own structure, and it was absolutely bonkers amazing. Now I got this cool edition with a signed book plate right there. A lot of shops were able to get this if they were able to order enough of those. So go to your shop and see, hey, do you have Bowling with Corpses and do you have the signed book plate? If not, that sucks. But if they have the book, definitely pick it up. If they don't have the book, get them to special order it because it's not only the pick of the week, this is required Rockin' Robbie reading right here. So Bowling with Corpses, the graphic novel, hardcover anthology collection from Mike Mignola, and of course, expert coloring from Dave Stewart. Like, I talk all the time about Dave Stewart being one of the best colorists in the business. This is evidence why. Really great stuff from Dark Horse and Mike Mignola. All right, let's jump over to Marvel. We got Dr. Doom and Rocket Raccoon, issue number 1. This is a one-shot comic, the first of a series of one-shots, written by J. Michael Straczynski, creator of Babylon 5, that's pairing up unlikely team-ups within the Marvel Universe. And we're kicking it off with Dr. Doom and Rocket Raccoon. The book was okay. It was good. It was solid. Like, I like the way it's playing with science. I like the way it's playing with Rocket's personality. I don't like the way it's playing with Victor's personality. This is not Victor. Victor seems too weak and unsure of himself in this book to really win me over as a hardcore Victor Von Doom fan. But that being said, it was interesting. It was funny. It gets a bit too cutesy at time, but that's probably just because of my expectation of a book with Dr. Doom's name on it. Anyway, it was still fun. It was still decent, and we'll see what happens. All right, then we got What If Galactus Transformed Rogue, issue number 1. So it's a series of one-shots from What If throughout January. What if Galactus transformed this person into his herald? We've had Gambit, we've had Moon Knight, we've had somebody else that I don't remember right now, but we got Rogue right here. And the next one is Spider-Gwen. The first one was Hulk, right? All of them have been just kind of okay, and this to me is the weakest of the batch. Like, Rogue, it's written by Anna Nocenti, and she's like writing Rogue as if Rogue is already developed as a character, even though from the point of view of the story, Rogue is like not Rogue yet, right? But she's I don't know, there's something really off to me about this. I did not like the artwork. In fact, most of the Marvel books this week, I did not like the artwork. I really think Marvel needs to step it up in the art department. I think they're solidifying some stuff in the story department, but they really need to invest in some really top-notch talent, because that's something that we're missing at Marvel right now. But what if Galactus Transformed Rogue was honestly kind of whack? I didn't really like it, didn't vibe with it, and it was my least favorite of all of these, and none of them have been my favorite comics. So there you go. Then we got Hellverine issue number 2. I remember Hellverine. So Hellverine is basically Wolverine with the spirit of vengeance, right? But not like the Ghost Rider spirit of vengeance. It's a different one. It was Wolverine. Then they did the recent Hellverine miniseries where they revealed that the new Hellverine is Dakin. So this is his story. I remember issue 1 and being like, whatever, good enough to come back for issue number 2. Issue number 2 did not do much for me. Just a little bit more like meandering around. The artwork was subpar. Just did not really solidify itself as something to pay attention to. So Hellverine issue number 2, I don't know, it's kind of losing me already. Then we got the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 66. The next part of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. This one is also written by Justina Ireland. The artwork is pretty decent from Andrea Briccardo. It's all right. It's decent. It's basically Peter has had to live through 3 million deaths of all those closest to him, and it's caused him to quit being Spider-Man. And the last couple issues of this book have been pretty good, but I feel like we're meandering around a little bit. I feel like we're just kind of stuck in this moment of Peter quitting and being overwhelmed by all the death in his life and what's the purpose of everything. And I feel like maybe 1 or 2 issues would have been good enough in like a 9-issue series, but like, I don't know, I really feel like the story should be moving forward right now, but it does have a cool setup for the next issue that, I mean, so far I'm enjoying the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, but it's not setting itself up to be a super classic. It's kind of just being cliche and going through all the Spidey tropes that we know and for the most part love. Then we got Uncanny XMen issue number 9. Gail Simone is here, joined by Andrea Brisson. I really like the artwork here. I like this book. I've liked it so much so far. They just recently got done with a crossover with Jed McKay's X-Men. Kind of weakened the book just a little bit, but now I feel like the book is back on track, putting the focus on this team of X-Men led by Rogue that has Wolverine, Gambit, Nightcrawler, Jubilee. It's a really great, solid team, and a bunch of new characters that are very interesting, right? So in this issue, there's a new form of Sentinels developed called the Wolf Pack. Think kind of like the Werewolves, but they're like Sentinels, and they're going after those kids, and the X-Men have to protect them. This is solid X-Men comics for me, and I really like Brisson on the artwork. I thought it was pretty solid. All right, then we got XMen Xavier Secret, issue number 1. This is a one-shot comic, I believe. It is a collection of digital-first Marvel Unlimited comics written by Alex Packnadel with art from Diogenes Nevis. I don't even know why I tried that one. It's all right. It's 2 stories basically back-to-back. The first one is what happened. So we know that Phoenix has gone off. Jean Grey's gone off into space to like pursue her destiny as the Phoenix. Scott has started his own X-Men team in Alaska. This is the story of what happens right before that, like their last night together, and that was pretty cool and it was awesome. Then there's the Xavier Secret bit, where it's like this woman who's like reliving Xavier's life or something and like trying to put a little bit more nuance as well as exploring the history of Xavier. It was all right. Hardcore X-Men fans, check it out if you missed it digitally. But honestly, this one issue isn't going to win you over. Alex's writing was pretty solid, I will say that. Then we got Mystique issue number 4. Loved this issue of Mystique. So this is written and illustrated by Declan Shalvey. Declan Shalvey, I love his sense of composition, I love his sense of action, and I love his sense of nostalgia for the X-Men. I had a conversation with him a few months before this book came out, and he talked about how he was really digging doing this Mystique book because he can do like a spy action thriller while drawing every X-Man that he wants to draw. And he does it. And he does it exceptionally well. It's really cool. And it has a nice twist towards the end that I really enjoyed. But the art, for me, was really top-notch. So not every Marvel book had crappy art this week. I mean, Uncanny XMen and Mystique had good art. So did another one we'll get to. But Blade #4 was one of those books that suffered for the art. Like, the art just did not carry this book. It felt amateurish. It didn't feel up to the standards of what I want to see from a Marvel comic. Now, Brian Hill's doing a great job with the story. We are still dealing with the after effects and the aftermath of the Blood Hunt series, which to us is like almost a year ago, so it feels a little bit disconnected because of that. It's a extra dollar for a polybagged, like, there's no extra gore or anything in this book that you wouldn't get in a Deadpool or a Punisher book. So they're doing the red band thing because it's a trick. It's a trick. They had us fooled at first because it worked on Blood Hunt. It's not working on Blade. Story's fine. Art's rough. And the red band thing is bullshit. So there you go. Then we got Fantastic Four here with issue number 28. This is kind of like your prelude to One World Under Doom. So at the end of Blood Hunt, we had the revelation that Doctor Doom is now the Sorcerer Supreme of the Marvel Universe. And I've been kind of suspect because I'm like, why is Doctor Doom being so quiet? Well, you get some of those answers here in Fantastic Four number 28, which is written by Ryan North. Ryan North is writing the event One World Under Doom. This is really solid. If you're pumped up for the what's coming up with the One World Under Doom, Doom as the Sorcerer Supreme, if you're jazzed for that, read this book because it's basically like an issue number 0. It's not a perfect issue. The art honestly sucks. The art sucks in it, but the story is pretty decent. It stretches itself a little bit thin in certain moments, no pun intended, because this is a Fantastic Four book with Mr. Fantastic. But Fantastic Four number 28 was decent, and I will say, if you are intrigued by the One Nation Under Doom, or One World Under Doom, whatever it's called, One World Under Doom, pick this up. This is basically like a prelude 0 issue. Then we got Wolverine Revenge, issue number 4, the penultimate issue of Wolverine Revenge, written by Jonathan Hickman with artwork by Greg Capullo. So once again, a Marvel book that's got some solid artwork, and it's got a decent story. To be honest with you, I liked this issue more than some of the others because it's been a rather simple tale, not even told in a complex way, like Jonathan Hickman typically likes to do. I feel like Hickman's earning a paycheck with this book. Capullo's kind of doing the same thing. It's not the best work I've seen from Greg. It's not the best work I've seen from Jonathan. But it's still solid enough. And issue number 4 was actually really cool because what became a simple Wolverine on the quest for revenge story kind of wrapped up in issue 3. Where are we going? We jump ahead a little bit into the future. And that's what we're doing in issue number 4. So I like this better. But I feel like I'm expecting more from Hickman and Capullo. I don't know. Then we got Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 13, also written by Jonathan Hickman with artwork by Marco Cicchetto. This book was freaking awesome. So you get introduced to a new Ultimate Spider-Man here. I'm not going to reveal anything, but we have found out that over the last couple months, Peter Parker and Harry Osborn have been kidnapped and held captive by Kraven the Hunter. So you got great artwork, you got a great story, a great build-up here. You got a little bit of Mole Man action, some Ultimate Savage Land action. Ultimate Spider-Man has been the big, bright, and shiny beacon in Marvel right now, and it continues to do that in issue number 13. This is a great book. No reason not to check it out. All right, over at DC, we got Justice League Unlimited issue number 3. Mark Waid, Dan Mora. When those two are together, they make some good DC comics, including Justified League Unlimited. Justice League Unlimited issue number 3. I loved this book. I didn't like it as much as issue number 1 or issue number 2. I felt like it was a little bit of a step down, but it was still very solid, great artwork, very dynamic, very kinetically charged, and the story building this mystery of what's going on post-death of Darkseid into the era of Justice League Unlimited. It does set up the Atom Project, which we've already had the first issue of the Atom Project and other books like Black Lightning that reflect the Atom Project. So it feels a little bit like, oh, what? Like, you piece it together later on. That being said, the book is really cool. Great artwork, really solid stuff. Then we get Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 4. Absolute Wonder Woman was one of those rare books that just 3 issues in made my best of the year. Issue 4 is not a disappointment. Kelly Thompson is continuing to craft a really engaging and sharp story that is super central to the core of who Diana is, but also at the same time is a different Diana than we've gotten before. So that's pretty freaking cool. Hayden Sherman, they are still continuing to pump out some of the best artwork of their career. I'm a huge fan of their work. This book is no exception. Wonder Woman, a little bit more revelation about her past. Amazing panel design and page composition from Hayden Sherman, and a really good setup as to what's to come, and some really great scenes of violence. So there you go. Absolute Wonder Woman is absolutely wonderful. All right, then we got Metamorpho, the Element Man, issue number 2. I was charmed by issue number 1. It's going for this, like, Silver Age, goofy, DC kind of approach to Metamorpho, but yet in the modern age. It's written by Al Ewing. Al Ewing usually writes books that I think are really good for the first couple issues, and then I kind of wane myself off of them. Like, I just don't really like it just doesn't keep my attention. It doesn't keep continuing to engage me throughout, right? So here we are, issue number 2 of Metamorpho. I liked issue number 1. Issue number 2, losing me just a little bit, but just a little bit. Still, like, leaning into that Silver Age, like, factor, that nostalgic mode of Silver Age comics, and the narration and the dialogue. It's all there. It's decent. Steve Lieber's artwork is amazing. Story's all right. Not as good or as impressive, I think, as issue number 1, but a pretty decent issue number 2. We'll see how long I can be into that book. Then we got Detective Comics with 1093. Tom Taylor, Mikkel Hanine, they've been doing an absolutely fantastic job on this book from the get-go. Like, setting up a new mystery. Did Bruce's dad cheat on Martha and have another child? So we're playing with that. That's very soap operatic, right? But at the same time, it's interesting. It's dynamic. It's cool. The artwork, by the way, is amazing. And Mikkel is doing his own coloring as well. The color choices, they're bold. It's got a great sense of design. It's got a great sense of flow throughout it. This is one of the most stagnant issues of Taylor and Hanine's Detective Comics yet, and it still is more dynamic than most of the comics out there. And like I said, the color choices are exceptionally well chosen. But Detective Comics was cool, and I'm still on board 100%. Then we got Wonder Woman, issue number 17. Tom King's Wonder Woman is one of my favorite DC comics right now. One of my favorite comics, period. Issue 17 is no exception. Like, we are in the end game of this whole, like, arc with the sacrifice, and what's this one called? Fury, and the one Outlaw, Sacrifice, Fury. Like, whatever. The Tom King run of Wonder Woman with Daniel St. Perry has been really freaking solid. I hate to admit that. It's been really solid, and this issue is fantastic. It's really cool. So, you have the big bad, the true power behind America, basically being backed onto his heels in the pages of Wonder Woman. She now has the Wonder Core around her, so you get all the Wonder Girls. It's a great exploration on them, their relationship to Diana. Diana's kind of separated from the action right now, but it's all build up. It's all so perfectly crafted. I think Tom King's Wonder Woman's really good. I continue to think that. Then we got Superman issue number 22 by Josh Williamson and Dan Mora. That's right, Dan Mora's got 2 comics out this week, and you know what? You can feel the crunch here in the pages of Superman number 22. The art is still really solid, really good, but not quite as clean as Dan Mora typically gives us. In fact, his Justice League Unlimited work kind of excelled this just a little bit, but the story really hyped this up even more. Basically, Doomsday has to be saved by Superman from people who want to kill Doomsday because a Doomsday of the future told Superman he needs to do so. Really great artwork, really solid story, and I love that. I love the Lex Luthor special. That hasn't released yet. I have read the Lex Luthor special. We're teasing it here. That Lex Luthor special coming up from Josh Williamson is awesome. So definitely check that. That's not out yet, right? Sometimes I get confused. Superman number 22, though, another solid issue. Josh Williamson knows what he's doing. Really great stuff. Then we got Green Arrow issue number 20. Chris Condon. This is like, what, his third issue or something. The art is by Montos. I think, yeah, the name is just Montos. But the art is good. It's solid. It's interesting. I like the coloring. I love the lettering by Son Onsman El Hal. And the story's decent too, but it just doesn't quite fully pull me in, right? And a Green Arrow book really needs to pull me in because I don't typically like to follow Green Arrow that much. I mean, much respect to Mike Grell, Jack Kirby, Chuck Dixon, Doug Braithwaite, Phil Hester, Brad Meltzer, hell, even Kevin Smith, Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, Josh Williamson. I like Green Arrow. I like the character, but you really need to do something more significant to really pull me in. But I do kind of, at the same time, like the approach. So I'm of conflicting minds about Green Arrow issue number 20. I liked it. At the same time, I thought it was a little bit of a letdown. I don't know. That's what I thought. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have the Patchwork Girl of Oz, issue number 1, a new book based on the L. Frank Baum 7th book in his 15-book Oz series, right? So if you're like me and mostly what you know is The Wizard of Oz and Return to Oz, I've never read the books, but I've read some of the Scotty Young Marvel books. I don't think he ever did the Patchwork Girl of Oz, so maybe this is kind of like continuing that thread just a little bit. But if you're a fan of the Oz books, you definitely need to check this one out. It's actually pretty good, really solid, great, all-ages book. That is an adaptation of one of the Oz books by Otis Frampton. The art was cool. The world was well put together. I thought the structure of the book was great, and it really set itself up for success. I think if you like Scotty Young's work in the Oz books by way of Marvel, you definitely need to check this one out. I think you'll like it. If you're an Oz fan, if you want to get kids into comics, The Patchwork Girl of Oz is one of those books that will do it. So there you go, from Image Comics. Then we got Void Rivals here with issue number 16. 16 issues into Void Rivals, and it keeps engaging me. It keeps enthralling me. It keeps encompassing my thoughts, this Inner John universe. I'm loving it, right? So you got Cobra Law versus, what's the pig dude's name? Skuxoid or something like that. That is part of this book. That is a great fight that has an end result that I did not see coming. So that was cool. The Inner John universe, even though it's kind of mainstream, still feels very out there and unexpected. And I like that they're taking twists and turns, and that's super cool. Then you got the story of the dude and his world. That's interesting. You got the story of the girl, the chick, and she's doing her thing. And that leads to an ending that I'm like, is that what I think it is? Transformers fans, if you're not reading Void Rivals, you are missing out big time. We've already had some big time Transformers teased in the pages of Void Rivals. I think we got another one teased here in issue number 16. I mean, let's go ahead into full spoiler territory. You, in the comments, let me know. Who do you think that is? Because I got an idea. Who do you think that is? Anyway, great book. Then we got Deadly Tales of Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 2, written by Jimmy Palmiotti with artwork by Patrick Reynolds. The artwork in this book is awesome, and the story's pretty cool too. This is like the origin story of Gunslinger Spawn, which we've had kind of alluded to a lot in the pages of Gunslinger Spawn. However, we haven't really seen it fully realized. You see it fully realized here in the pages of Deadly Tales of Gunslinger. Sorry, my throat's all like kind of messed up tonight. I like the art a lot. I think the story is good too. I love that cover by my boy Mark Spears. This is some interesting stuff, and props and kudos to a Spawn book in 2025 with titties. How about that? Then we got King Spawn here with issue number 41. Loved this issue of King Spawn. King Spawn went from my favorite Spawn book to a weaker book to one of my favorites yet again. This issue was awesome. There is some kind of entity out there, some force that is taking bits of Haunt or different Haunts and playing it up to other angels and demons who want to get their powers back and pit them against Spawn. Let me find you one of those. Look at that. The art is great. The story is solid. $2.99 cardstock cover. Smells great. Not the smell of the week, not the cover of the week. Mark, you didn't get the cover of the week either. Love you, buddy, but you didn't. We've already talked about the book that gets the smell of the week and the cover of the week. I'll reveal that at the end. Then we got Hyde Street, issue number 3. Jeff Johns, Yvonne Reese. This book was good. This was a really solid book. The problem is, it's like a month late. So this is like a Christmas story of Hyde Street. Hyde Street is like this fictional street within Ghost Machine where souls get trapped there and they have to capture souls, enough souls to leave Hyde Street or something like that. So you got this dude, Mr. X-Ray, who's like tied in some way or fashion to all these different like advertisements in old school comics like sea monkeys and X-ray glasses. All of that is prevalent here, and that's cool. That's a nice throwback. Then there's this like little Boy Scout kid. They have this like, I don't know, they have an interesting conflict and dichotomy in their relationship, I should say. This was cool because it's a dude who like basically kills Santa Claus or kills some dude pretending to be Santa Claus. It's a guy pretending to be Santa Claus going through houses, robbing them and causing mischief, and then the Hyde Street regulars get involved. A really solid story, a very good smell, but it smells like too late. This should have been out a month ago. It would be perfect. And I'm not here to criticize the schedule of books nowadays, but man, this is a Christmas issue. It's now mid-January, so there you go. Hey, World Tree is back from James Tynan and Fernando Blanco, Jordi Belair. And I'll be honest with y'all, I was really worried about reading this book because I know the gist of what World Tree is, but it's been so long since Arc 2, and Arc 2 was kind of already confusing to me. And in fact, now that I think about it, I was losing the plot of this book at the end of Arc 1. The beginning of Arc 2 pulled me back in. I'm losing the plot at the end of Arc 2. The beginning of Arc 3 pulls me back in. This is a flashback issue of sorts to tell us the not-so-secret origin of Phaser, our favorite gun-toting, homicidal, maniac, completely nude, bleach blonde woman in comics. So I liked that. I like it instantly like brought me back into the book, and now this week I think we have book 2, like volume 2 of the trade paperback collection is out. So I think it's time for a reread of the first 11 issues and then jump back into 12 because I like this book, but because of its irregular schedule, I'm losing it. And that's a problem with week-to-week comics. What we do here on the Weekly Comic Book Review, we're talking about my experience as a weekly comic book fan. I do not feel super plugged into the world of World Tree, no pun intended, but I was plugged into this book, to this issue. This was solid. I really liked it. I love the artwork. I love the way it was structured. I love the coloring. I love the panel design. Really cool stuff there. Then we got Tin Can Society with issue number 5. This is a 9-issue series that to me already feels like it's running a little bit too long. Imagine Iron Man meets Stephen King's It, right? Iron Man was amidst a group of friends when he was a kid, and he developed his armor with some help from some of his friends, different relationships with those friends. They all kind of go their separate ways, and years later, Iron Man, Tin Man, dies, right? It's a murder. So all of his friends, all of his old school friends have to get back together, kind of like the adults in Stephen King's It, and solve this murder. Well, the murder is kind of solved here, but also kind of not. It was a great issue. Tin Can Society. Every issue I jump in going, This one's make or break. And it always makes. It always makes. It's always intriguing. It's always engaging. And even though I don't remember all of the characters or the nuance of it, because it's got a weird kind of, maybe like a 5 to 6 week schedule or something like that, it pulls me back in every single time. And I think this is going to wind up being a really solid reread. But right now, I'm really digging it. I feel the same way about Null Hunter, an Olympo Saga, issue number 4, from Michael Walsh. And who is the artist here? The artist is Gustavo Vargas. The art is the saving grace of this book. It's amazing. The story's decent enough. It's a sci-fi futuristic retelling of the Hercules story, but it's done in a different way than the Hercules story, so I like that and appreciate that. So this is another book that every issue I'm like, oh man, it feels like make or break time, but it's always the art by Vargas that brings me right back in. And I do believe that Vargas is the colorist as well. Yes, Gustavo is. The coloring is amazing. The artwork is amazing. The energy is amazing. The only problem is the story is losing me just a little bit. It's not the story's fault. It's my fault for reading so many comics. But I like this book. I like it a lot. Then we got Savage Dragon, issue 275. This is a giant 100-page issue and a celebratory edition of Savage Dragon. And it is freaking awesome. I am loving what Eric Larson is continuing to do in Savage Dragon. Todd McFarlane's been making Spawn for over 350 issues now. But he hasn't drawn nor written every single issue. He's been involved. He's produced those books. But Eric Larson has written and illustrated 275 issues of Savage Dragon, and he just keeps going ham with it. Kirby energy, dynamic qualities, interesting story moves and plots. Let me show you like a top-notch page here. Look at that. Come on, tell me you don't want to read Savage Dragon. Let's get these numbers up, because whether the numbers are up or down, Eric's gonna keep making these books. It's awesome. This is a 100-page special, so you got your main story, which has an exciting return in it. Man, there's some really good moments in this book. Like, I'm loving what Eric Larson is doing in the pages. And then there's a bunch of backup stories, some from different creators, and then some from Eric Larson himself. And man, they're pretty fun, and they kind of feel old school. There's a lot of content here. It's $10, but it's Savage Dragon for 100 pages. Most comic book publishers and creators will not give you 100 pages for $10. This is a great deal. If you haven't read Savage Dragon, or you haven't read it in a long time, yeah, you'll be lost. But because of the episodic nature of the storytelling of Savage Dragon and how Eric Larson's been telling one story this whole time, just do what I did. Jump in, be confused, but roll with it. It feels like old school. It feels like when I was a kid getting into comics. Look, I don't know all these things that they're referencing in SpiderMan or XMen or Fantastic Four, but you know what? As a reader, if you keep up with it, you pick up on it. Yeah, so there you go. Also from Dark Horse this week, we got Black Hammer Spiral City, issue number 3. Love this book. Jeff Lemire diving into what he does best. Melancholical stories wrapped around superheroes and sequential storytelling. That's what's going on here. Black Hammer is one of those books that has a bunch of different styles throughout, but there's one core, and that core is Jeff Lemire. Black Hammer Spiral City. If you haven't read any Black Hammer, you can jump into this book. Not issue 3. I would recommend starting with issue number 1, but another solid book. Really great artwork, really great characterizations on these characters, and Jeff Lemire excelling where he excels at. But last week, from Boom, because Diamond still do what Diamond do, and it kind of smells like doo-doo. But last week, Minor Arcana issue number 5 was out. Y'all, this might have been a pick of the week contender if I would have actually gotten this book to read last week. This book was amazing. It was fantastic. Also, yeah, I don't have my Diamond shipment for this week either. We got a lot of news about Diamond. Maybe at the return of Rockin Robbie Live on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, we'll talk about that a little bit, about my thoughts on that news. That being said, Minor Arcana issue number 5 was the best issue of this series yet. This is a series that just continuously improves. I love Jeff Lemire's artwork. I love his nuanced storytelling. It's too real, too brutally, tragically real, but at the same time, feels very exciting. This is a really solid book. Also last week from Dynamite, we had Space Ghost issue number 9. David Pepose has been doing such an amazing job with Space Ghost, making a grounded, raw, more brutal, and graphic approach to Space Ghost. Jonathan Lau's pencils are amazing, and the coloring is getting even better. I'm starting to like the coloring in this book. Came out last week. A lot of people didn't have it in their shops. Hopefully you'll have it this week. We just got the announcement, by the way, that David Pepose was doing a Captain Planet book. Do you think I'm a person who's willing to toot my own horn? Yes, I am. So David Pepose one time backstage told me how much he loved Captain Planet and how much he had a good pitch for Captain Planet. I told that to Nick Barucci, publisher of Dynamite, and said, who's got the rights? He goes, I don't know, I should find out. I was like, you should find out because David Pepose has got a really good pitch for that. And it just got announced today that David Pepose is doing a Captain Planet book for Dynamite. You're welcome. Because if it's anything like the Space Ghost book, it's going to be freaking phenomenal. Phenomenal. And it all started because David saw a Captain Planet action figure behind me on a live stream. All right, to wrap it up tonight, we got Tom Scioli's Godzilla Monsterpiece Theater issue number 3. I feel like this was meant to be a 4-part series, but it's wrapping up here with issue number 3. But issue number 3 is like extra sized. Is it extra priced? It's $6.99, but it's freaking worth it. The first issue of this book was a little bit too verbose for me. Didn't quite work for me, but the second issue really worked because they brought in Dracula. Here, it's like Godzilla versus Tom Scioli's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen versus the Monster Squad, basically. You got Dracula, you got the Mummy, you got the Wolfman, you got the Frankenstein monster, all at giant kaiju size, fighting all one-on-one with the Great Gatsby. This book was awesome. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, but it's freaking phenomenal. And even though I wasn't impressed with issue number 1, 2, and 3, pulled me back in, and this might be one of my favorite comics over the last few months. Tom Scioli doing what Tom Scioli does. If you're not a fan of Tom's work, you probably won't like this book. But if you are a fan, you're gonna love it, regardless of what you thought about issue number 1. All right, so to recap real quick, Godzilla Monsterpiece Theater ends in splendid fashion. Space Ghost from last week continues to impress. I brought you Captain Planet. I'm responsible for Captain Planet. The power. Worlds within worlds. Planets within planets. Minor Arcana from last week was the best issue yet. Black Hammer this week was great. Jeff Lemire doing what Jeff Lemire does. Savage Dragon, $2.75, 100 pages, $10, but worth every single freaking bit of it. Null Hunter pulls me in with that artwork. That artwork is amazing. Tin Can Society continuously engages me, even though I don't think that they are. World Tree, I'm losing the plot. Pulled me right back in with issue number 12, a really solid issue of World Tree. Hyde Street was really great, but maybe a month too late. King Spawn was dope as hell. Deadly Tales of Gunslinger Spawn was alright. It was pretty good. The art's pretty solid. The story's solid. The Mark Spears cover's solid. Void Rivals continues to impress. Cobra Law, Transformers, and what Kirkman is doing with his own stuff within this Energon universe. All prevalent there. The Patchwork Girl of Oz, great for all ages and fans of the Wizard of Oz, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Green Arrow, I'm on the cusp, but I feel like I'm leaning to stick with it, to be honest with you. Superman is great. Loved that issue. Wonder Woman was great. Loved that issue. Detective Comics was great. Loved that issue. Metamorpho, the Element Man, was alright. Step down from issue number 1, but still interesting enough. We'll see how it develops. Absolute Wonder Woman was absolutely awesome. Then we got Justice League Unlimited, still loving it. Not quite as impactful as issue number 2, and definitely not issue number 1. In fact, 2 might be my favorite. But 3 was pretty solid as well. All right, over at Marvel, Ultimate Spider-Man soars as usual. Wolverine Revenge kind of picks up a little bit here in issue number 4. Fantastic Four, a prelude to One World Under Doom. Worth checking out, though the art was kind of weak. Same thing with Blade. Worth checking out. Story's great, but the art was kind of weak in that. Mystique. Art and story are great. Declan Shalvey knows what he's doing. Check out Mystique. Really great spy action thriller in the world of the X-Men. XMen Xavier Secret. Love you, Alex. This one just didn't really fully work for me. Especially, it feels like it's a little bit too late. But it's probably because it was a Marvel Unlimited digital first book that is being put together now, like 6 months after From the Ashes, right? Uncanny XMen, though, still is solid. Amazing Spider-Man's been lingering too much in this part of this story. Hellverine is definitely losing me. What If Galactus Transformed Rogue was the worst of these What If Galactus books. Dr. Doom and Rocket Raccoon was fun enough, but some parts of it still bother me. But the pick of the week is Bowling with Corpses and Strange Tales from Other Lands. Mike Mignola, writing, illustrating with Dave Stewart. Who's the letterist? Who's the letterer in this book? Clem Robbins. Y'all, this book is phenomenal. You need this in your life. Check it out. Because not only is it the pick of the week, but it's a Mike Mignola cover. So I'm going to give it the cover of the week. And guess what, y'all? I'm giving it the smell of the week. It smells like the macabre calling of great comics by Mike Mignola. So there you go. Pick of the week, smell of the week, cover of the week, the trifecta, the hat trick, and then you even get beyond that. You can get that signed bookplate, y'all. Really cool stuff. There you go. That's what I thought. That's what I read. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the show. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. Coming up, we got a conversation with Ed Brisson on Friday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Time. Then I will be on Blood Splatter Chatter, 1 p.m. Central Time on Sunday to talk about Buffy versus Dracula. Rockin Robbie Live returns 7 p.m. Central on PCP on Sunday night. And then right after that, I'll be on Dylan's Horror Show with Horror of Dracula. So, lots of cool stuff. If you learned anything from this video, go buy Bowling with Corpses. If your shop doesn't have it, ask them. Special order it. If they don't have it, go online, go to Amazon, call me. Like, I don't care. Like, I want this book in your hands. Because it's freaking awesome. Pick of the week. Anyway, pick of the year so far. Yeah. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Keep liking, sharing, subscribing. Keep on reading. Station. And if you're not down with PCPX, I got 2 words for you. Suck it! Also, pop, pop, boom.